I think it's some cricket time, and we better talk about this England versus India third test, currently underway at Headley in Leeds. Do you want to run us quickly, perhaps, through day one and how we got to? Because day 3 is about to start, about 15 minutes away from current time.
Yeah, so we're recording Friday evening Australian time, so day 3 about to start. Day 1, this series just keeps on giving. One of the more unbelievable days of cricket in recent memory. India went unchanged from the team that won at Lords, and England made 2 changes, with David Malan coming in for Dom Sibley and Craig Overton in for the injured Mark Wood. Most people are familiar with David Malan, AC Milan, they call him, as an excellent T20 player. Although his test form has been a bit lackluster, 16 tests averaging just 27.8. So a bit of pressure on him to perform with this recall. And Craig Overton has been in stellar form in the county cricket championship. He's averaging 13 with the ball, if you wouldn't mind. So was banging down the door for selection. India won the toss and chose to bat. From what you boys saw early on, what are our thoughts on that?
Well, I think Root said early after the toss, the toss he was happy enough to lose. I think they would have preferred it to of course, start batting. But it ended up playing well into their favour. And Jimmy Anderson, vintage Jimmy, their main weapon in England, comes out and they run right through India.
That's it, yeah.
Vintage is the right word there. The bloke's 39 years old. He debuted in 2003. I was having a look at guys that debuted after him. Andrew Strauss, Michael Clark come to mind. And he's a fast bowler. Those guys are top order batsmen that retired 4 or 5 years ago, and he's still going out there and is the most prolific fast bowler of all time. And if you get him on a sort of somewhat cloudy day in the north of England, you better watch out. And he just made an absolute mockery of England's top order. The first wicket of KL Rahul, it was beautiful swing bowling, just set him up. In swinger, in swinger, in swinger, out swinger, schnicked him up, got a wicket in the first over, and then he got Pujara in his third over. And Pujara's actually become a bit of a bunny for him. He's only averaging 20 against James Anderson, being dismissed 10 times. Someone who's been a real thorn in the side of the Australians over the last few years. So Jimmy Anderson seems to have his number, especially in England. And then the big one, Virat Kohli. He got him driving at a full outswinger, and he really celebrated well. You don't normally see an animated Jimmy Anderson after a wicket, but obviously with all the back and forth from the second test, the words exchanged at Lords, he really enjoyed that one. And Virat has 50 international innings now without 100 across all forms. The pressure just keeps building on him, doesn't it, boys?
Yep. Oh, big time.
It does.
And especially when the captain on the other side's doing what he's doing at the moment. We'll get to that. But as a direct comparison, and we talked a little bit about it last week. I don't think there's going to be calls to replace Kohli anytime soon. I know some will start considering it, but you now it's still progressing. He's now starting to get a little bit more worried than you were, say, a year ago.
Oh, indeed. That monkey on his back just keeps nibbling, doesn't it? He just keeps failing at an international level. And, 18 months ago, probably hands down the best batsman in the world and, one of the best ever. And still is, but in a real bad period of form, isn't he?
And again, I think this one, another ball that he's probably nibbling at that he could have let go. Like it was good length, good line. Probably a little closer to the ones he got in the last 2 matches. But he's maybe made that decision and was like, well, I'll leave that one alone.
The thing about this one is I think it was a bit fuller than some of the ones that he got caught, sort of poking at in the first few tests. It probably was there to have a crack at, but you're exactly right. When the ball is hooping around like it was and you're 2 for fuck all, perhaps leaving that alone is the best option. Hindsight's 20/20, isn't it? He loves having bat on ball, and that's probably what's seen him become a little bit undone of late. And you can see that he's still got that aggressive mindset. He wants to score runs. He's not going to go back into his shell, even though he is in poor form. But yeah, massive wicket there for Jimmy Anderson, who finished up from his 8 overs, 5 maidens, 3 for 6, if you don't mind.
It's pretty
then-
sell on.
Rahane was taken by Robinson with the last ball before lunch. Punt came in, got out to a bit of a nothing shot.
Yeah, that one, he had to either go hard with a cut shot or just leave it alone. He just tried to sort of guide it down to third man, and what's the best result that's going to happen from that? You're going to get a single. What's the worst result? You're going to sneak up on 2 and really put your team in the shitter.
Which is what happened. So in the notes it said Pepe went to bed at this point.
Yeah,
and then the madness happened.
Yeah, this was just after about 11 o'clock Australian Eastern. I went to bed. I thought, oh, geez, very interesting first session and a bit. And then I wish I'd stayed up for about another half an hour, because this is when England just went mad and India lose 4 wickets in 6 balls. Rohit Sharma, the first to go, he saw off about 100 odd rocks. He did the best out of the Indian bats. But he come undone with the pull shot again. And this time, rather than being caught in the deep, he just was all over this one and got on to him a bit quicker, and he put it straight down Ollie Robinson's throat there at mid-on. And then that set up the cascade of Indian bowlers or tail-enders to fall. So Shami caught second slip, first ball. Some of the best commentary that I've seen in recent memory. Nasser Hussain is saying that don't change the plan. He's saying at Lords, the tail come in. They just wanted to bounce them. They had a different field set. He said, just bowl to him like you bowled a Kohli. Have three slips in the gully, top of off. And if it's good enough for Kohli, it's good enough for a tail ender. Lo and behold, schnicks him up, first ball. And then Overton goes on to be on a hat-trick there. It was a peach to Sharma, and Sharma, to his credit, keeps it out. And then the next over, the horror for the Indian fans just continued with Jadeja getting caught plumb LBW from Sam Curran, and then Bumrah LBW reviewed, but it was catching the top of the leg stump. And then his hat-trick ball was actually a really nice ball there to Siraj, who managed to get a little bit of bat on it. And then he didn't last much longer. A good catch from Joe Root. Overton finishes with 3 for 14, and he's come back to the English side. And the Indians all out for 78. Who would have thought it?
Yeah, I think you brought it up there, Pep. So we said there's two key points we wanted to make for England to try and get back into this Test series. One of those was on the bowling side, because they needed to stick to, be patient, stick to the length, stick to the line and length, use the key weapons you've got, which is one, the England climate. Let's swing it, hoop the ball around. Who does that better than anyone? Jimmy Anderson has given what they need to succeed. They stuck to that plan. They actually did it, and they went through and they ran right through the Indian side. So I think it was clear to everyone to see that that's what they had to do. They've now gone out and executed it. So all hats off to them, and that's put them in a really, really good spot. So speaking of which, that then leads into the first innings for the English side. How'd they do?
Yeah, well, that was our second point last week, wasn't it? Is that without Joe Root, this side is looking horrendous.
He needs some help. Someone's got to stand up and help.
Needed some
Who's
help.
going to get his ton? Who's going to help him get the rest of the runs?
Well, we were concerned what was going to happen when Joe Root fails and then he's got no one else around him. Turns out he's in the form of his life. He goes out and gets a ton. But before that, Haseeb Hameed and Rory Burns, all the pressure in the world, especially for Hameed after that long time in the wilderness, coming into that test at Lords and getting a first ball duck. The amount that would be playing in your head, the head noise that you'd have after 4 or 5 years out of a side, and then you face one ball and then didn't do much in the second innings either. Massive confidence booster for him with 68 and Burns with 61. They both succumb early on day 2 to quite good balls, actually. Both lost their poles to Jadeja and Shami And then the man recalled into the side to bat 3, David Milan. He rewarded the selectors with a really nice 70. His cover driving and cut shots were immaculate, but the day belonged to Joe Root. Watching the game, every few minutes you'd hear the crowd, Root, 3 consecutive tons, and it was a quick fire 121, striking at about 80. So can really score some runs quickly. And boys, what do we have to think about the form that he's in? He's really putting this side on his back, and the whole series has swung back into anyone's game. Whereas 2 days ago we were talking about India taking this series quite comfortably.
Yeah, well, we made those 2 points. They managed to hit both of them in this match early on, at least. We're essentially at the halfway point, with each still having innings to go. But if they can keep this is the game plan. This is the direction they need to go. Use what you've got. Use the climate. Use those weapons, and give Root the support he needs in the batting lineup, and they will score 400. So that's what they need to do. They've got now over 300 run lead coming into the start of day 3. What do you think they'll do now? Do you think they'll try to push that 300? Because India essentially need a bat for the next 2 days to even get this remotely close to, trying to probably draw this game out versus actually going for a win. Do you think, they bat much more today?
What they would have said to the English tailenders going in to bat in Sam Curran, Ollie Robinson, and James Anderson, they would have said, boys, you've just been down to the Department of Motor Vehicles. We've printed out a license for you, and that license is to go swing. Who gives a fuck? If you add a few runs, good on you. Who cares? And let's get stuck into the Indian top order. Look, England should have this won really within the next day or 2.
Yeah. Yep.
That's it. I think they just need to remain consistent. Hopefully they can have a good bowling attack in the next innings, and then let's just see it home with some good top order batting real quick.
The worst thing they could do is fall in a heap, lose their way. India hit 600 in the next 2 days, and then they've got to chase runs on day 3 to possibly draw this match out. So yeah.
And look, it's not impossible. They were showing for us Australian viewers in the lunch break of day 1. And I'd had PTSD from this. I'd managed to erase it from my memory, if you will. But in the 2019 Ashes, when Australia, I say we, like I was,
yeah, of course.
Australia, we skittled them for 67, I think, and should have had that game all wrapped up. And then the second innings, England go out and they're absolutely up shit creek, and Ben Stokes comes out with one of the gutsiest hundreds you ever see in your life. He took 50 balls to score his first 2 runs, and then ends up winning the game for England. Do I think we see a repeat of that? No, probably a once in a 100-year occurrence that even happened 2 years ago. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but they'd need to go out there and bat for 2 days and, count their lucky stars. And you just don't see it happening, because the big difference in this one, the English boys were getting a lot of swing, whereas the Indian bowlers were just relying off the seam, off the deck. They weren't hooping it like Anderson and Robinson and Overton were.
Well, I just checked it. The match has started on time. There was reports of slight drizzle, because that was the only other concern it had, which could work against the English side, which is the English weather.
Even in the English weather, I think with this 3 days, they would need some kind of rain of Noah's Ark proportions to get a drawn result here. England should win this pretty comfortably, and we will wrap up with a separate video, say Sunday or Monday, when this game does have a result.
Will do.
Yep.
So they've kicked off officially. 2 balls down, no runs so far, all wickets.